Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Steelers Now, Steelers Night Shift. I'm your host, Joe Morrison. I am joined by our frequent flyer, Mr. Alan Saunders, who is coming off of a week of full rest. He did not go to bed late Sunday night. He was in bed by 11 o'clock. No, in all seriousness, how you feeling, Mr. Saunders?
Yeah, it's a weird week. I'm getting through it. Today was nice. Because nothing off day today in the middle of the week kind of gets me the little reset from the weirdness of the night game, but we're going right back into it. So, whatever, we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Did you get home by your shifted deadline of 5 a.m.?
I did get home before 5 a.m. Yes.
There you go. Good deal. Well, you got in before the buzzer, but that's good to hear. And I'm sure all of Steelers Nation, well, most of Steelers Nation at least, should be pretty happy with Sunday night's result after a thrilling victory over the Baltimore Ravens that propelled them into the playoffs. And now they are going to be hosting the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football. And definitely a lot of storylines to go. And it's a pretty big week for football in general. You got the college football semifinals this week, and you have Super Wildcard weekend on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Are we still calling it that?
I think they're still just because it's so spread out, and I don't know. I kind of like it. You're not a big fan of that Super?
No, I don't care for that branding. That does nothing for me. It's just Wildcard weekend. It doesn't need to be super. It's not super. It's Wildcard weekend. I mean, it is what it is.
Wildcard weekend. There we go. Well, folks, Steelers could be hosting the Texans, and I think it's kind of interesting, Alan. My two biggest posts I've got the most attention on were the NFL.com site picks. Last week I posted the Baltimore Raven games simultaneous. So it was pretty much, like 6-1 in favor of Baltimore. This week it's 6-1 in favor of the Texans. Do you think the Steelers are huge underdogs, or do you think that maybe people are just taking the safe pick in picking the Texans this week?
I mean, look, they won 9 games in a row. I think they're the hottest team in the NFL. I think it's a very reasonable prediction to pick the Houston Texans. They are favored, Vegas wise opened at 3.5. I think now mostly a field goal from most of the places I've seen today. I think this is going to be a close game, though. And in close games, I think it's really hard to have an overwhelming favorite. The field goal line says that. How about the total? 39.5. That tells you close and low scoring. To me, close and low scoring, you should probably have a pretty, wider variety and where the picks are going to go. I haven't decided where way I'm going to pick this game. I felt really strongly right after the game last week about the Steelers beating the Ravens. I don't quite have as good of a. Mike Tomlin was talking on the Rich Eisen show today actually about how I'm just not as familiar with this team. Like the Steelers haven't played them very often, and I've watched them a couple of times. The Steelers have had a lot of night games, and so we've gotten to be able to watch a bunch of other teams. But it's been I don't know. It's hard to get a sense to how these teams are going to fit together. But I would not think this is some kind of landslide where 9 out of 10 people should be picking Houston.
Absolutely. It's funny. The last time Steelers played against the Texans in regular season play was that 2023 matchup when Stroud was a rookie, and they got, for better or worse, they got trounced 30-6. Patrick Peterson made Nico Collins have his breakout game, and it was a very rough matchup, and that Texans defense has only gotten better. And Stroud has only gotten better. Here is a stat that I found to be wild.
Has he though? Wait. I want to go back to that. Has he though? I mean, he certainly did not have as good of a second year as his rookie year. He is playing better this year. But like I look at CJ Stroud as a quarterback that is kind of being wasted by his offense. In that, like, he's a good player, I think. He was the guy that I wanted in that draft class, number 1 overall. But like his numbers are unimpressive. He missed a couple games, but 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns. Like this is not a guy who's lighting things up by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I can agree there that the numbers aren't great, but I think his offensive line definitely doesn't help him.
Awful.
The running game this year has not helped them. They have, the ghost of Nick Chubb back there getting 20 carries a game, it feels like. And Joe Mixon's been out all year. And really, receiver wise, I feel like the only true threat they have that stands out when you think of the Texans is Nico Collins. But they've been going through injuries at wide receiver year over year. Tank Dell had that horrible injury last year and still hasn't come back from that. So I think, like to your point, he has been kind of the product of his own offense, definitely not helping him, and his defense has definitely helped the offense come along. But they've started to put some nice games together. But I do think that if there is a weakness, it's going to be attacking this Houston offensive line. Probably going to be similar to almost the way they play the AFC North, and taking away the run game and playing a lot of man-to-man is the kind of vibe I get when I watch this Houston offense.
Sort of looks like the defense that Mike Tomlin wanted to have.
Yep.
Two dominant edge rushers, some corners that you can just go play man-to-man. The difference is the Steelers are better up the middle, defensive tackle, linebacker, safety. But yeah, I mean, it's a very good defense. But I think of the possible matchups for the Steelers, this one's fine. They're a really hot team, but I think they are going to play the style of game that will keep the Steelers in it, and then we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And one quick thing I'll throw out there is the Houston defense actually puts up better points per game allowed on the road than at home. I think it's 15 points per game on the road versus 17 or a little just under 18 at home. I thought that was just wild to me. Like, you would think it'd be kind of flip-flop, but no, it's definitely crazy. Our photojournalist Ed Thompson's chiming in. He says Allen sounds a little cranky. I don't know if he sounds cranky, but I wouldn't blame him if I was getting home at 5 a.m. the following day. And we have a few folks chiming in. Steven saying he appreciates everything we do. Appreciate you tuning in, Steven. And Schoolhouse Rock's clocked in, ready to go, along with Miss Pittsburgh. And our first question that we have is the Steelers win Sunday, based on how this season kind of progressed. Their question is, will Terrell Austin be kept? Or do you think it's up in the air?
I don't really think it has. I don't think a win would matter or a loss would matter. I think the answer is probably no. I think he's been fine. I think how big of a problem he's been has been overstated over the years. 3 straight top 10 defenses before this one. Not quite sure exactly where they finished this year. I could look it up. Certainly below expectations this season. But he's 60 years old and his contract's up. And I don't know. I don't know why the Steelers would feel like that's the best they can do. And I understand the Steelers, they don't fire coaches while they're still under contract almost ever. Part of that is just their love of stability. Part of it's also, I think, that they just don't want to pay 2 guys to do the same job. But when you're looking at handing out a new contract, I don't know. I think that feels questionable to me. I would think still leaning probably no.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, unless like this defense goes like on an 85 Bears type of run in the postseason, which I'm not going to put my money in that basket at all. Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be on the. I don't know. I lean towards not renewing that contract, and but on the other hand, it's kind of my next question is who would they pick up? I mean, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Raheem Morris straight to the front of that line, 100%, without hesitation. To me, that's absolutely the guy. Outside of him, I mean, I'm sure there's other options. We'll see. Jim Schwartz, is he going to stick around in Cleveland? That'd be wonderful. We've talked about Jim Leonard, me and Smitty have, who I believe is in L.A. Is that right? No, Denver, as the like a defensive pass game coordinator or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of options. I wouldn't make a decision based on that. He's actually a pretty good crop of defense. Jonathan Gannon, I throw him out there as well, was a really good defensive coordinator
Oh yeah,
before
yep. He
was a failed
he
head
was
coach.
he was with the Eagles, I believe,
Yeah.
before he got hired by the Cardinals. Yep, that's a good call out right there. Good deal. Speaking of defense, Brandon Griffin has a question. They ask, how will the Steelers handle Dalton Schultz? No one's talking about the Steelers defense versus tight ends. And the first game plan that kind of comes to mind when I think of that against a good tight end. That's a good call. Dalton Schultz, he's a pretty solid guy. I kind of think of the game plan against the Colts might kind of come into play. They kind of started shifting Ramsey a little bit towards Warren at times. They definitely, wanted to take him away because he was one of their better receivers. And then they matched up Porter against Pittman a good bit. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Saunders?
I don't think Dalton Schultz really scares me. I think he's a good player. He's not a great player. I think for me, like you got to give help on Nico Collins. The Steelers are going to want to stop the run. You can only do so much, so many places. I mean, for me, this is more of a Peyton Wilson game than a Malik Harrison. We've seen a lot of Malik Harrison lately. Texans play a lot of 11 personnel, and I think that's a really good matchup for Peyton Wilson. I actually think Peyton Wilson can kind of clean up in that matchup. I don't think Dalton Schultz he's not a very good athlete. He can catch, but I mean, he's not dynamic the way some of these other tight ends in the league are. He's just kind of there. I wouldn't be too worried about him.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll definitely be interesting to see. I mean, we've seen some tight ends make their names against the Steelers before, though, so that'll definitely something to watch, Mr. Brandon. Richard Hunt has a little question about the offense now. He says, "Good evening, fellas. This offense looked like the Cleveland game with super quick pass game against the Texans." And I'll let you start, Mr. Saunders.
I mean, you're gonna have to be quicker than you were against Baltimore, which has no pass rush. I don't think it'll need to be like Cleveland. I don't know. It's a good question. We'll see. I think they have to run the ball. I think they want. I mean, Aaron wants to throw the ball fast anyway. I think is really the best answer. Is that? I mean, he's led the league in time to throw among quarterbacks who were their team's full-time starters. So, I mean, given that tendency, I would say probably.
No, certainly. No, definitely. That quick game has been kind of the calling card for the Steelers, and I think you'll see a lot of it. I don't think you're gonna.
And
Well,
like, what
actually,
are
I
you
take
taking
that back.
deep shots against Stingley? Like, I mean,
Right.
and Petrie and like that. Like, to me, there's very little reward for holding the ball longer against these guys. You're just putting Rodgers in more jeopardy against really good edge rushers in order to throw the ball into the teeth of a very good secondary. Where they can be attacked is, short middle, flats, kind of football, which is just getting the ball out quick. So, I mean, no, I don't think I don't think it'll be maybe as fast as the last Cleveland game, just because there's no Myles Garrett over there, but the Steelers are going to throw the ball quickly.
And it's funny you bring up Myles Garrett. My question in my mind has been, who do you chip, Will Anderson or Mr. Hunter on the other side? Because those two have been making offensive tackles' lives hell all throughout the season. It's like taking one Garrett and being able to kind of split him a little bit across both sides. I mean, they're both playing outstanding football, and they are firing off the edge. I'm very curious to see who they bring that attention towards initially, for sure. Anthony,
I would just go with whoever is on Dylan Cook. I think that's got to be the place where you send the help first.
no, absolutely. This will only be his third start or fourth start?
Fourth or fifth? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's played 6 games, 5 starts, so maybe this will be a 6th start. I don't know.
There you go. Good deal. Anthony, kind of shouting out one of the big news today about the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, saying really sad to hear about that. And I am too. I mean, I remember my first trip to Pittsburgh, seeing the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette building. Man, that's just really that's definitely not good at all. I mean, I hate to see that. And hopefully all those folks over there, find something or do something on their own. And yeah, it's definitely some tough stuff to see there for sure.
Yeah, I talked a lot about that on Afternoon Drive. Me and Will Graves, who was a great guest and perfect for that topic. So if you guys didn't check that out already, go check that out. I was really, I mean, hoping Smitty can get back out from under the weather, but I thought that was a really good episode with me and Will. So yeah, go check that out.
No, certainly. Hopefully, all those folks can find something, bounce back. But yeah, no, it's it's always tough. I mean, 240 years. That's just incredible run, honestly. So, and here we have Mr. Gino has a question. So curious about any word on Broderick. Is there some long-term concern regarding that injury? And I will say, we kind of mentioned this earlier in the season, and I got to talk to DeMarvin Leal in Jacksonville because he had a similar type of neck injury, and that knocked him out last year. And he just said, that everything was going great, and but he did admit that it's a very tricky injury, and we've already seen one guy with the injury like that, Ryan Watts last year. It ended up being career ending. So there's really no telling how that could go, but definitely hoping for the best with Mr. Jones, and hopefully it's
Trenton
more
Thompson
likely.
also same injury, ended up being career ending. Asante Samuel, similar idea, ended up missing a lot of time with his surgery. Now, he didn't have his surgery until April. I would expect Broderick Jones is probably out for the early part of the offseason anyway, and maybe hoping that he would get back at training camp.
Yeah, it's definitely a very tough injury. Anything neck, spine related.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say until he gets back out there. I mean, I don't know. I would think there is hope that there is no long-term issues, but you can't ever be 100% sure.
No, certainly, yeah. But like we said,
there's another one on the same wavelength. Simply YouTube wants to know, Alan, are we getting Deshaun Elliott back for the offs? I have to say, I kind of like the offs. I kind of like it.
The offs.
I could get down with the offs. Yeah, this week, I don't know if they keep playing. I would say yes. I would expect Deshaun Elliott to practice tomorrow. From all indications, that's what I'm expecting. Again, long-term knee injury. I would not expect 1 week of practice to be enough for him to be able to play this week. Is it possible? Yeah, but I wouldn't expect it. The first indication we got right after the injury was maybe the Super Bowl was possible. Seems like perhaps he's a bit ahead of that timeline. We'll see how things go, but I think you're going to see Deshaun Elliott and also Isaiah Loudermilk, who has been like kind of doing some running off to the side. I haven't seen Elliott do any of that yet, but he seems a little bit farther ahead in terms of his return progress than Elliott is. I would think both of those guys return to practice tomorrow.
That'll be great to have, especially. I mean, Kyle Duggar had a little bit of a rough game on Sundays from what it looks like, but hopefully he'll bounce back. And if Elliott can come back sooner rather than later, that'd be great for them to have. And the back secondary is someone they're familiar with. Dylan has a concern while we're talking about the offs. They're worried about another slow start. Why does that happen? Dylan, I think it just depends on which game it is. And you can just point to a number of things. I mean, the only game I can think of where it just didn't go horrible to begin with was that Kansas City game in 2021. I think it was scoreless.
Oh, I mean, you're talking about in the playoffs? I mean, there's absolutely nothing connecting playoff games from multiple seasons, and any attempt to draw any analysis doing so is just completely fraught. There's nothing connecting those. It's just random. This team's been a good first quarter team most of the year. They've scored on their opening drive, I want to say 12 or 13 times. They've been very good. And so
which was unheard of for a few years there.
Yeah. And so I don't think there's any rational reason to be overly concerned about a slow start on offense. Defense, I will say, both of the last 2 weeks, it felt like it took them a little bit to warm up to the game. And that's not why does that happen? I think part of it is, you come into a game with an assumption about what another team is doing, and it's the coach's jobs to guess right, to guess about what are their intentions going to be when we get on the field. And sometimes you guess wrong, and sometimes they guess very right about what you're going to do. And sometimes it takes a little bit to adjust to what's happening. So I would just say largely that is like coaching and luck. I mean, it's rock, paper, scissors in a lot of ways. Like, Browns see the Ravens see the Steelers do three things and say, hey, if they do this one, we're going to gash them with this play, and they call it. And then, hey, that happened to be the one that the Steelers picked. Then they gashed them, It's part good planning and part good coaching, and it's also just very random and generally averages itself out over the course of a game and over the course of a season.
And I will say this, because of the losses, I think of the games, the Jacksonville game, the Buffalo game. I think of, those matchups. Some things that happened early were turnovers. I mean, anytime you turn the ball over deep in your own territory or have a football go 10,000 miles over your head into the end zone, it's not going to get you off to a good start. I think
+2 or -2 in turnovers in the playoffs, that is a win or a loss. Period.
Yes.
Nothing else that happens in the game matters if you get to +2 or -2.
So turnovers, they definitely got to stay on top of that. Omar Khan Artist has a quarterback question.
We love those here. This is the show for the quarterback questions. Ty Simpson, first round, I think, quarterback, declared for the draft today. Everything I've heard is that, it's interesting. He's a guy who really had a very, very good, I would say, October and into November, and really kind of brought his draft stock out of nowhere very highly. And then I think he kind of cooled off in terms of the results collegiately. But everything I'm hearing from people at the NFL level is that they don't really care about the results collegiately, and they like the package, the arm talent, the size. He's fairly mobile. I think there's a lot of teams that really like Ty Simpson. I think he will go in the middle of the first round. He could go higher than that. And I think he'll be a guy that when we get out into the Senior Bowl and the Combine and things like that, that he's going to interview really well as well. So we'll see. The one nice thing about that offense is that now with it's a pretty high level offense. They're doing some NFL stuff, and so he should have a fairly low floor. He does not have the ceiling of a Mendoza or a Moore, but in terms of if there's a third quarterback in this draft class, he is 100% the guy.
And I will say, from Ty Simpson's standpoint, I will say I love the way that he bounced back on that opening week of the playoffs. He went to Auburn and got rocked, even though they came away with a win. Anytime you go Jordan Harris, it's tough. That place is broken. Jalen Hurts. That place almost broke Bryce Young. It broke Mac Jones. I've said it before. He had a really rough game in the SEC championship game, and they were down 17-0 against Oklahoma. And keep in mind, Alabama has no run game. Had no run game this past year. So they had to rely heavily on him. So I was very impressed to see him, that mental toughness to keep going, get his team in there. And yeah, they had a very rough game against Indiana that bounced their season. I think he got hurt in that game too, unfortunately. But no, I'm impressed with Ty Simpson from not just the physical, but also the mental toughness, because there's a lot of quarterbacks out there, if they get shook, they get shook. So it's definitely something to it's definitely something to look forward to seeing. So KPMF says, look back, was
That's
Ramsey
Ken.
out of place?
That's Ken in New Hampshire.
That's Ken? There we go. He asks, was Ramsey out of place on those long open touchdowns? And he says, get in the van.
Yeah. A couple of them. The first one to Tez Walker, absolutely. The third one, I don't think was Ramsey. I think that was more Duggar and Porter not communicating. It was an attempt at communication, just the message didn't get across. The second one, I think, was Ramsey was kind of an impossible situation in the second one, in that there were two uncovered guys in his zone, and he just picked the other one. I'm actually, I would be a lot more critical of Jalen Ramsey about the fourth down pass to Isaiah Likely, where he has a dead red read on the football and easily gets there in time to break it up and isn't able to. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's relatively new to playing safety. If there are like some wonky things about his coverage depth or, processing, filtering out zone reads and things like that, like whatever. That's just see ball, hit ball, and that's the play that I think if I was Jalen Ramsey, I would really be kicking myself for. The Tez Walker one, he got his eyes underneath as well, just really aggressively defending the third down line or the first down line instead of getting depth with the deepest guy as his sort of coaching points would likely tell him to. So yeah, you can hang the first one for sure on Ramsey, and the third one he's involved, but it's definitely not all his fault. Or I'm sorry, the second one he's involved in it, but it's definitely not all his fault.
Yeah, the second one, that's the one that Lamar Jackson got away from 2 Steelers.
Also, yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
like you blitz assuming that you're going to get there or at least disrupt his ability to make that throw. I mean, maybe he checks it down and they live to fight another day, but you're assuming with that level of blitz and it not being picked up at all that you're not going to be able to stand in there and throw a 50-yard pass.
Yeah, hopefully Stroud doesn't do anything like that, because that was, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it's Lamar Jackson, so I get it, but it was just frustrating to watch. And that's a good point also on the likely catch. That was definitely like when he made that catch, I was like, man, this is how it ends. Okay, but obviously it didn't work out that way. Andy has a question. He says, why is Roman Wilson not playing, and why is it such a secret about him? He either is not a good fit or he can't pick up on the offense. And I think Mr. Saunders is probably the best person to start off on this one.
I mean, I don't think it's a secret. He's their third best slot receiver, and he's not a better special teamer than 3 other wide receivers on the roster. I mean, he's not as good as Thielen. He's not as good as Austin. Is he capable if they had to put him out there? Yeah, it's not like he's awful. He's just not as good as those other guys. I also don't think he's been particularly reliable in terms of the higher level stuff that Aaron Rodgers is demanding out of his receivers in terms of reading the defense and knowing what to do and having things be able to be unspoken. And, just, with the play where we all saw the mic'd up clip of him going to Kenny Gainwell and saying, hey, run over there and go do that. And then ending up exactly where he wants him at the end of that. I just don't think Roman has shown the ability to do that at the same level that some of the older guys have. And that's why he's not playing. It doesn't mean he's awful. It doesn't mean he'll never contribute. It just means he's not as good as those other 2 guys. And I think Thielen's, very specific ability against zone coverage is a real asset that they don't have in really anybody else at the wide receiver position. I don't think Adam Thielen's like a ton better than Roman Wilson right now. Like, it's pretty close, but if you look at like the reasons to dress them versus not dress them, like that's one that goes in his favor. He's been really big for this team on third down. And so I just think, I think in hindsight, if they knew that Calvin Austin was going to have a breakout year last year, they would not have ever drafted Roman Wilson. And now they have a player who's not as good, who can only play the same position, and that's awkward.
And I will say about Roman Wilson, this is in essence his first true year of game action. I mean, he
look at Austin. Missed his whole rookie year, did nothing the second year. Then he has the breakout. Like anybody giving up on Roman Wilson at this point is doing so very foolishly. But yeah, I mean, just throwing him in there to throw him in there isn't the answer either.
Yeah. And I will say, I do think maybe that fumble against the Colts does kind of linger in the back of their mind a little bit. I mean, I get it. It was all inconsequential when you look back at it, but there's one thing Mike Tomlin hates is turning the ball over. And if you're a young player who puts the ball on the ground, you're not going to see playing time.
I also think a lot of people made a lot out of him making some catches in like deep garbage time, which I mean, the team just does not care about. Like they're not even evaluating those plays.
No, I think there was the Packer touchdown where he took like 5 steps, and then he did have a nice one on a catch and run against the Chargers. I thought that was pretty good, but like you said, that's the game's well out of reach there. And we'll take one more. I think this is a good one to kind of end on here.
Oh, man,
Major Headache says, does anyone doubt Aaron returns for certain now, especially with the AFC North now in turmoil? Run it back regardless of how well we do in the playoffs, is what he says. If you had to bet today, Mr. Saunders, on if Rodgers would return regardless of what happens on Monday night, what way would you lean?
I will say this: I don't think what happens on Monday Night matters. With the one exception that a win would probably make him more likely to want to come back. I think the way that you get Aaron Rodgers the most likely to want to come back is to look like you were kind of close to winning something. And you probably have to win a wild card game to do that. I think really one of the big motivating factors for Aaron in coming to Pittsburgh was that he just wanted to get the taste of the New York Jets out of his mouth before he left the NFL, that he wanted to prove to people that it was them, not him. How many times have you listened to an Aaron press conference this year where he recounts his passes like, well, I was hurt in 23 and then we were awful last year. Like he says that all the time, very clearly wanting to point out that like it was not him. None of it was him. It was never him. It was always just the Jets are incompetent in almost everything they do and can ruin even a Hall of Fame quarterback. And so, I think that was a big part of the motivation. I don't know if that motivation gets you a second season of motivation, I think he's proven that it was the Jets, that it wasn't him. I think the way to get him to really want to come back again would be to look like you're capable of winning something. You probably don't do that if you lose to the Houston Texans in the wild card round. All due respect, they are not anybody's Super Bowl favorite coming into the season. Now, if you win and maybe you keep winning, then I think it starts to look a lot more likely. As it is, I don't know. I'd probably put it like a little bit under 50-50. I think there's a lot of factors at play here. Rodgers' desire, one of which that I find very difficult to handicap. There's also this whole thing with the Steelers in the draft, and we talked about Ty Simpson, and I think they want to draft a quarterback still. That's going to be relatively difficult to do so. If they think they can draft a quarterback, I think Aaron Rodgers makes a lot of sense with them. But if they don't think they can draft a quarterback, I don't really know if they want to keep kicking the can down the road, or maybe they would rather go after a free agent or a trade for someone that they think can be, more of a semi-permanent solution, a Tommy Maddox type of fit where you could still win something with this guy, even if he's not the future franchise. We'll see. I don't know if that player's out there. Malik Willis, maybe, although he's nothing like Tommy Maddox.
Malik Willis, I'm a fan of Malik Willis. I said I wanted him as a backup option when free agency came and went to trade for him. But hey, the Jets made history this year, Alan. They're the first team since 1933 to not record one single interception. And with that, folks, we're going to make history by concluding this Steelers night shift first playoff preview game. I appreciate everyone this season tuning in tonight. Alan, I appreciate you coming on as well. Don't forget to check out the afternoon drive, the morning rush, and as always, we'll have the Steelers night shift. Hopefully we'll be back again next week, continuing to preview more games. And folks, we appreciate you joining. Mr. Saunders, let them know where they can find you if they're not familiar with your work.
@Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now, SteelersNow.com, talking about the Post-Gazette. If you want to support local journalism, sign up for SN Plus. It really helps us do everything we do. And I am really excited about the travel I've got coming up at the end of this season. Thinking Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl. What do you call a four? Not a trifecta. Perfecta? Is that what that is? Superfecta? I don't know. I'm not as good at horse racing as I maybe should be.
He's got a lot of bowls in there, folks, and I have a feeling one of those bowls down in the Senior Bowl will be a bowl of gumbo. So definitely got to try that.
Yeah, we'll get some more from the road going for you guys there too.
There you go. Well, everyone have a good night, and let's see what happens next Monday night. And everyone, have a safe evening, and go Steelers.